Bon matin tout le monde. Good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us today for another Horizon conference. First of all, I want to thank Horizon and Zoo for this amazing series, which is really about shedding light on emerging trends in the entertainment and technological and creative industries. My name is Gabrielle. I'm in charge at Zoo of the events programming. So if you like what you see here, follow us on Facebook because we have a bunch of different conferences happening every week. And today I'm really happy to present this conference with David Morin. So David is the industry manager for film and TV at Epic Games. So basically today we're going to talk about virtual production in the film and TV industries, but many other industries as well. And it's moderated by Carrie Cortlett, who's CEO and founder of Avec. Carrie and David are joining us today from the West Coast. So good morning to both of you. And for everyone here in Montreal or wherever you are, I hope you enjoy this event. And without further ado, I'll leave the screen to Carrie and David. Have a great one, everyone.
Bonjour, good morning. It's great to be here. Very exciting. Hello, David.
Hello.
My name is Carrie Cortlett. I'm the CEO and founder of Avec Pro. Just before we get started, I'll let you know a little bit who I am, and then I'll introduce David. Avec Pro is a company that I founded 37 years ago. We're located in Vancouver, British Columbia. That's where our headquarters are located, but we have a Montreal office located at the Maison Alcan on Sherbrooke in Montreal. It's also where Zoo is located, our hosts this morning. And actually, my company worked with Lenovo to build the innovation lab there at Zoo. And so what does Avec Pro do? Well, we provide solutions such as Autodesk software, Avid Technologies, Wacom pen tablets, and of course, Lenovo and many other industry-leading brands. So we work with content creators in the film and television industry, but also games and post-production, etc. So if we can help you on your next project, please let us know. Or if you need more information, just visit us at annexpro.com and we'd love to meet you. So now I'd like to introduce David. David Morin is Epic Games Industry Manager for Film and Television, where he spearheads efforts from the Unreal Engine team to further its development and adoption across the film and television landscape. David serves also as the Executive Director of the Academy Software Foundation, where he works for the premier members to develop the use of open source software in the motion picture industry. David and I have worked together actually when he was at Autodesk, and we've known each other as industry colleagues for many, many years. I'm grateful to count David as a good friend, and without further ado, I would like to introduce David Morin.
Thank you very much, Gary. Really appreciate the introduction. It's an honor for me to be introduced by you, and in the name of all of our years working to develop the use of software and computer graphics in the film and TV industry. Really happy to be here today with you to talk about this phase we're now in, which is close to, I think, what we set out to do. For me, maybe it was not 37 years ago, but maybe 35. And that we, I think, all share this vision that one day computers could help filmmakers to do things that were not possible to do before. And I think that in many ways has been achieved with the advance in visual effects and digital filmmaking in general. Filmmakers can do things they couldn't do before, for sure, today. But it's still very kind of a industrial process, very lots of people involved, and when you get into a visual effects or an animation movie, you lose a lot of the immediacy of normal traditional filmmaking. And we're right at that point where we're just there to bring our tools we've been developing all those years to the filmmakers directly, and that's what I'm going to speak about today, briefly, or sort of briefly. I think I have have a presentation that normally takes 45 minutes when it's done in its entirety. I think here we've agreed I'll compress it in 20 minutes so that we can have time for continue our discussion on the base of that. So do you want me to jump into that?
Absolutely. Please,
okay.
Please do.
All right. So I'll share my screen here. And do you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So so in the next 20 minutes, this is our agenda. And I'll come back up to one thing. So you mentioned it, Gary, the Academy Software Foundation. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but I just want to say one quick thing. So the Academy Software Foundation is a relatively new organization dedicated to the advancement of open source software in the film and TV industry. And so there'll be a presentation about that at another time, but it's an exciting development that you should keep an eye on. And that's all I'll say for now. Back to our main program with Unreal Engine and Epic Games. That's going to be our agenda for the next 20 minutes. We're going to talk about Epic Games a little bit. We're going to talk about Fortnite, the metaverse, and then we're going to get more specific about the use of Unreal Engine in film and television, in-camera visual effects, and a little bit of Unreal Engine 5 and a few other things as well. So starting with the basic stuff, Epic Games was created 29 years ago, which is, in the time frame as Carrie was relating, many of us started 30 years or so ago. And we shared a vision. And in the case of Epic Games, it was created by Tim Sweeney, who is still the CEO of the company today. With his goal was to create video games using the computer graphics tools. But it has grown, and already at the beginning, I'll talk about that a bit when we talk about the metaverse, he already had that vision of where he wanted to go, and which is very converging to all the goals that we've had, those of us on the technology side. So now it's in 15 countries, 52 offices, 2,600 employees, and winning awards. What does Epic Games do? Essentially two things. So on the left side, Epic Games does Fortnite, and in the past, Epic Games has done 55 different games done in-house at Epic. And in order to do these games, it has developed a tool set called the Unreal Engine that was used first to develop the games internally at Epic, but it was also licensed first to other games companies to do their work, and about 500 games have been done using the Unreal Engine by partner who licensed the engine. And then more recently, 5 years ago, the engine started getting used in all kinds of other industries, including, so non-games, including film and TV. That's what we're going to talk about today in more details. But first, a few words about Fortnite because it's important in our discussion. So Fortnite is a game. It had at one point at the same time in the game at the same moment 15.3 million concurrent users. It has 350 million accounts, people that have signed up to play at different times, and many, many hours have been played. The point that's important for our presentation in film and TV here is that the Fortnite is constantly updated. So it's not like a game you have on a disk or that you have even to update once a month. There are updates going on in the background of the game all the time. It's cross-platform. It runs on all the compute platforms. So that means PC, it runs on mobile, it runs on the PlayStation, the Xbox, the Nintendo platform. And you can share, you can play with each other no matter which platform you're on, which is a groundbreaking thing, as strange as it may seem, that Fortnite brought to the market, this ability that no matter which platform you're on, you can play with your friend if they're on another platform. And the thing that is very interesting about Fortnite is that it has, at first it was a game. It's a shooter game. You go in with your friends and you team up to get the prize, and it's a battle royale. It's the last person standing who wins. But soon we started to add non-game events to the game, such as in this case here you see Travis Scott concert. That was the first big one that was done in the game. And when he did his concert in Fortnite, 27 million unique users attended his concert in the game or near the game, and there was lots of views, and it propelled his music to #1 in the chart. So there had been a lot of talk about virtual concerts, and that proved the point that you can have virtual concerts that are very successful as an alternative to the live concert. This was before the pandemic, but right before. And so then the pandemic happened, of course, and impacted all of us. And there was a lot more of that kind of activity that took place in Fortnite. That on the non-gaming side. Here is a quick, if you have not seen it. So if you want to find out more about this, I'm not going to play a lot of videos in the interest of time, but we're posting, I think, on the chat rooms, the links to go see these videos on YouTube or on the Unreal website. So keep an eye on the chat room. So Fortnite is based in it's sort of a serialized game. So there's chapters, there's seasons, and people are joining. One of the last one was with Galactus and a number of Marvel characters, where in the game you could become them. Fortnite is currently in chapter 2, season 6. Actually, there's a new season, but in the season 5 there you had the Mandalorian who joined and all that. So you can become those characters, you can play them. It's a prototype Fortnite for the metaverse. And then talking about the metaverse, this is something that our founder had in his mind from the beginning, this idea that one day games will become more than games. They'll be the base for an environment, a world where you can go in to play games, but also to hang out with your friends, to look at movies, to look at concerts, to go shopping, to go do all kinds of things. And that vision is very present in our mind. It's kind of the guiding light in the distance for people who work at Epic in terms of what we're aiming for. And Fortnite is kind of really a prototype. We see hints of the metaverse happening in Fortnite now, and that can give you, if you play the game, a sense of where a lot of things are going, we believe, in the future. Now, moving on to the other thing that Epic Games is doing is the Unreal Engine. And on the non-game side, so the right part of the slide, Unreal Engine itself can do many things. So it's been built as the tool set to develop games like Fortnite and many others, but it can do everything from still image production to linear video production to virtual production, interactive experience, augmented reality. It's been used a lot for that. And there's itself for the Unreal Engine 11 million licensees, and it's free. So it's free to use in non-gaming markets. You can download Unreal Engine tomorrow, today, tonight, right after this presentation. There's nothing to pay. There's no fees. You can start using it. You can download material from the game store in the asset store and start going. The engine was made free 4 years ago now, for nearly 5 years ago, in non-gaming. And all these markets here, we saw broad adoption of Unreal Engine in architecture, automotive, broadcast, and film and TV. There are people who talk in every one of these industries, like I do now, about their world in automotive and manufacturing and advertising. Today here, we're going to talk about film and TV, specifically Unreal Engine in film and TV production. And that's closer to home. So Unreal Engine 4, since the last 4 years, started from never having been used or just once in a while in outliers, to being used in more than 160 film and TV productions since 2016. We're actually more like at 180 now. It keeps growing super fast. And it's been used in all kinds of different ways. These are some of the movies and TV shows that used Unreal Engine so far. And why are people using Unreal Engine? Why is there this broad adoption happening suddenly? That's because filmmakers, and these in this slide you see our grandmaster, of filmmaking, Peter Jackson, Jim Cameron, Steven Spielberg, Alfonso Cuarón, and you see them with virtual cameras and with different tools where they were attempting, with the technology of the time, to have a preview of what they were going to see later in their visual effects. So that was not using Unreal Engine at the time. It was using other software that had good enough rendering, let's call it like that, and sort of real-time rendering to help them do the work. But then people started looking at Unreal Engine when VR happened, and this was about 4 years ago when Facebook acquired Oculus, and there was a big investment in VR. So filmmakers started looking at doing VR, and they did all sorts of experiences that were not directly in production of their movie, but they were kind of a side experience. Like Robert Zemeckis did a VR experience for his movie The Walk in Unreal. You could walk on the wire, right, with goggles on your head. Jon Favreau did Gnomes and Goblin with Weaver, and an interesting experience, more animation like. The Void did a lot of experiences with Marvel that you could go experience on location, and Alejandro Inarritu did Carne y Arena, a very nice and important piece in the evolution of real time in movie making, that won an Oscar for the innovation in storytelling 2 years ago. That this was showed in museum. He wanted to do a visceral experience of to immerse audience into the experience of people crossing the border between Mexico and the U.S. and how gut wrenching that is. He was not satisfied with just showing that on screen as he has done in many of his movies. So he created this experience, and where you were right there with the immigrants, or the would-be immigrants, walking in the desert, was very, very striking, and it did win an Oscar. We were glad to participate with that with ILM X Lab. Now, after that, after filmmakers experimented with Unreal Engine in VR, they realized that they could bring this experience into their production. And one of the first one that happened is John Wick 3. There's a video on our website. I'm not going to show it here in the interest of time, but please go on uevirtualproduction.com. And you can see that video from how Unreal Engine was used in the production design department, the art department, to figure out sets. And that was one of the first use of Unreal Engine in production in the modern era. Then, with all of that input from filmmakers starting to use the engine in the film, we developed new tools specifically for filmmakers. So once you're in VR here, you have now an interface, virtual scouting interface, that allows you to go explore a virtual sets like this, and then you can summon tools like lens and preview tools that filmmakers are used to use, measuring distance, interacting, things you can do in the virtual world, things you cannot do in the real world, like move the rocks. And you can do that in a multi-user scenario where you can have many people in the scene at the same time. And if you have a video wall and an in-camera visual effects setup, you can shoot the wall. We see the camera here. The motorbike is real. The rocks are virtual. The wall is there, and you can see a little bit the juncture between the wall and the ground. And if you have people exploring the scene, you see their avatar in the scene. They can be anywhere. They're in the distance, exploring, moving things around, planning where they're going to shoot next, all these kind of things. So it brings the visual effects into the stage, and you can now shoot it as you would normally shoot a normal set, and be done right there on set in the best of cases. If what is in the camera looks good, then you can make it happen. That's in-camera visual effects, but it's not the only way that Unreal Engine is used. It's used in animation. It's used for previs. It's used for digital humans, final renders. We'll talk about some of those cases. I want to show briefly for pre-visualization. I'm going to show a quick example here from Halon Entertainment, where they use the engine on Ford versus Ferrari. So previs, we know the use case. In this case, they had these very expensive car, now collection item, that they were going to shoot. And so they wanted to know exactly what they were doing. And there was, for instance, a shot like this that we're going to see. They did the previs of the entire racing part of the movie. And then they designed shot like this, right where you want to have this great drone shots going on your car. You cannot improvise that, particularly with very expensive cars. So they previs the race, and using Unreal in new. So their mission is not to do final render. It's possible to do that, but is really to plan. And it's also used in production design. I want to show an example from our friends at Netflix on Stranger Things. So this is a test that was done by Aaron Sims Creative, who's a creature designer and a production designer, on the Demogorgon. So you know that creatures, if you're a fan of Stranger Things, it was done the traditional way in the original series, but now here Aaron Sim brought it into Unreal, and you can see running in real time. What's interesting here, and which is a revelation often to production designers, is that the level of quality you can achieve into your previs. You know, what we're looking here at essentially what's a production design version of the creature, and you see the quality of the rendering that you can achieve with depth of field, with the lighting, translucency of the skin, and all. That's often a revelation for production designers who love to see their work represented that way, and in to look as good as possible, and they can achieve that in Unreal Engine in real time. So there is more about production designers. They're very important people in movie making because they work in pre-production and they design the stage and the sets and a lot of things. We have another video from Andrew Jones, who's the production designer of The Mandalorian season 1 and seasons after that. And he talks about his work with Unreal Engine on our website. I highly recommend that you go check it out. It's part of the recordings we did for an event on virtual production in November. It's enlightening, and it's from the mouth of the people who are actually doing it, how the new tools are transforming their work. I'll let you go see that. Now, moving on to specifically about in-camera visual effects. We've done a lot of videos, and there's a lot of material about that. The Mandalorian, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we have a lot of users now that have done their own in-camera visual effects stages or projects. One of them is Paul Franklin, twice Oscar winner from DNEG, that is doing his own film now. So he's been doing visual effects all his life. But at a company in London called called Dimension Studios, he's doing his own movie. That also I will refer you to our website to go see, and you will see how the technology is now reinterpreted and used in different ways. SIGGRAPH 2019, we did this demo. You may have seen it. It was marketed a lot. We talked a lot about it. This was a technology demo at the time, showing one by one the features that we developed to help filmmakers. In fact, it was the development for The Mandalorians that we could not show yet because the series was not out. So we did a demo with neutral assets to be able to showcase the features that were coming into the software. It's all at uevirtualproduction.com. And at the same time, or shortly thereafter, The Mandalorian came out. There was a lot said about that too. But in short, The Mandalorian won a bunch of Emmys for the first season, 11 of them. 3 of them were specifically related to the technology of in-camera visual effects. The visual effects Emmy, the production design Emmy, and the cinematography Emmys were all related, and you see in those images the display from Unreal Engine on the video wall in the background. I'll talk a little bit about that, showing a few stills. So this is an example of Bryce Dallas Howard there, kneeling. She was the director from one of the episode of season 1, episode 4, and she's directing Gina Carano at the time. We see it in picture-in-picture. We see the final shot. And on the broad shot, you see the cinematographer, Baz Idwan, who's manning the camera. And everything you see in the background, what looks like a shed environment, is on the wall. So they're not in a shed, they're really on the video wall. The same video wall that is used by another director for another episode. So this is Deborah Chow, director of episode 3 and 7. She's directing Werner Herzog in his role as the bad guy. Here too, the sort of evil empire cantina background is on the wall, and the final shot that you see of Werner Herzog in the picture-in-picture is final in camera. So this was not a green screen. This was not added after the fact. They were able to frame the shot right there on set. The set was lighting the actors as it would, and then they were able to call this final without further visual effects and addition to it. Another example here, which is great because this is also Deborah Chow again on episode 7, now directing Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, and Carl Weathers. And the wall in the background, you're at magic hour there. And so with that setup, this Unreal in the background on the video wall, you can stop, the sun at any given point in time. And even if it's magic hour, you can do what you do, talk to your actor, take your time. You're not limited to a 5-minute window because this is magic hour. We'll shoot whatever we want, whatever we can in that short amount of time. You can really do things that you couldn't do in the real world. That's another view of the set. You can see here a little bit more detailed. You see the juncture between the wall ceiling, the video ceiling, and the video wall itself. You see the cameras that are up there. They are motion capture cameras that are there to capture the position of the actual camera that is shooting. And you see that you can have combination of lighting between the wall, another magic hour moment, and practical lighting that is done the normal way things are done on a set. All that combined together and can be shot in camera. This image is from a final shot that Andrew Jones actually speaks about in his presentation. Was shot final in camera. The wall and the sunset was on the wall, and the set element in the foreground are blending seamlessly. There was many examples. They've said that they have done up to 50% of their visual effects shot in camera on The Mandalorian. There is a video with Jon Favreau explaining in a bit longer way with some visuals how they used Unreal Engine on the set for season 1. This on our website. There's also a whole set of documentaries that Disney has published on their new Disney Plus streaming channel. They have 8 documentaries on how the 8 episodes of the first season were done. Many of them focused on filmmaking and Star Wars and interesting things if you're a fan of Star Wars, but there's a few that are focused on the technology and the wall. Highly encourage you to go see them. And then the technology was used beyond Mandalorian by WestWorld and other shows. Here in the case of WestWorld, let's see if we can play some of that in the background. So in this shot in WestWorld, they had gone to shoot in Spain at the city of technology in Valencia. I'm going to do the talking. And they had used video walls before to do to just project video, but with that season of WestWorld, they decided to go, and they knew that the city of I'm going to fast forward in the interest of time a little bit. This is Jonathan Nolan, the director. We have that video in full on our website that you can go. It's about 15 minutes. It'll give you a lot more details. And then when it came to the city of industry, that shot here, they had gone to shoot in the real city of industry, but they only could close that city for a day. And so they knew they couldn't come back. So they digitized it, and then they brought in their wall in Los Angeles, and then they could do a lot many more shots as they were creating or changing the script. If they needed to go back, they could, and they were shooting on film because WestWorld, they're shooting on film. So there was a whole other set of the technology, not a lot, but some things had to be developed to make sure that film, not just digital cameras, work with the wall. And so we worked in collaboration with them to include these features in the software. So there's that and much more at uevirtualproduction.com. Please go see the content there. In November, we did an event called Unreal Build Virtual Production, and we've seen clients and users from around the world who have used Unreal Engine in this capacity. Here's a preview of that. People from Spain, Orca Studio installed a wall. People from France, Mado XR, installed a wall to do a project. A lot of them are short form projects like video, like music videos or commercials. There's Diamond View in the US that has a wall now. And in Italy, Full Frame Figure have done their their own. So it very, very quickly that the use of that technology spread throughout the world. And then, of course, in our time of COVID, having these sort of stages in camera visual effects stages is an environment you can, this is in Germany, Lab, environment you can control, and so on and so forth. There is a lot, many more stages on that in Brazil. Sepal Productions have done work. We're tracking stages in the hundreds at the moment that are being developed and installed, some permanent, some temporary for production, and in all range of size and budget. So this is all on our Unreal Build virtual production side. There's also an interview with Robert Zemeckis, who talked about, who's one of the grandfather of virtual production, who talks about his experience on his latest movie. We've developed the software for animation, and in one of the latest animation short we have, I'm going to let that play without the sound, or there's a little bit of sound, I don't know if you hear it. Just do the beginning of it. So this guy here is all running in Unreal in real time, and the whole short is running in real time. You can actually download this project. You can download Unreal for free, and you can download this project for free as well, and just hit play inside Unreal Engine and get into that scene. The sound is probably not very good, so I will ask you to... He's worried, there's a bird in the sky. If you want to know if he makes it or not, please go check out our short film on the UE Virtual Production website. And you can also, there's also a making of how it was done. And as I said, you can download the short at this page here on the project Spotlight. So this is all done in the current version of Unreal Engine that is released now. It's Unreal Engine 4.26. You can go and download it. That's the version you will download if you go to the website and do that. Last thing I want to cover is our latest release is Digital Humans, meta-humans as we call them. So there is a new interface, a new tool coming that will allow you to make humans that's shot from one of the humans that can be done in that interface. This is one of the character you can do. You can customize yourself. This is the one digital human. They come pre-rigged so that they can be animated through keyframe animation or motion capture. And this video here, you can see the quality of the animation that you can get out of that tool. Some of the details. And the MetaHuman Creator is really an interface that allows you to easily modify a human into all those range, male, female, and number of different races and different type of people that you can create in the MetaHuman Creator. So in a nutshell, I think I went over time. Your success is our success. We have a lot of tools and tutorials and different scenes that you can download to get started into all these different aspects of using Unreal Engine. We have Unreal Engine /online learning, where you can find a lot of tutorials, documentation, of course, for all the features that I touched on. And obviously, or maybe not obviously, but the Unreal Engine knowledge is in high demand. It's growing fast, and learning Unreal Engine is a good investment. You're not surprised to hear from me. Something that you can do to, if you are in the visual effects or film industry, or you want to get in, you can see all those resources. We have a new virtual production field guide that just came out, volume 2. We recommend that you read if you want to find out more. And then final, we have Unreal Engine 5 coming later this year. And so that's the next generation of the real-time engine that has a number of developments that makes it easier and faster to do photoreal content for all markets, including film and television. There's a preview of that. Unreal Engine includes new tool sets, one called Nanite for virtualized geometry that makes it much easier to import film level assets into the engine. It has a Lumen interface that gives fully dynamic real-time global illumination, and so on and so forth. You will hear more about that later in the year. And thank you. That's the part of that's the presentation part of this this session, and I will get out of presentation mode. Back to you, Carrie.
Wow, that was fantastic, David. Wow, what a great presentation. From meta humans to metaverse and magic hours. What exciting innovations we have in film and television coming along. Really the next step in film and television. Thank you so much. I have to ask you this question. I know we have some people wanting to ask questions online, and I have a few questions too, but the one I have to ask you is, how did you get into this industry?
Well, I think you have to follow your calling. Is the first thing in life. What does interest you? And that's really important to invest into that. For me, I was interested in film and TV, but I also had studied computer science. And this was in the early days where there was no computer graphics. But I think many of us at that time saw and believed that one day these computers could do could do images, and we saw the power of having this sort of extension of your brain, that can compute while you're sleeping, and can do all kind of things to enhance essentially your creative endeavor, automate a lot of things like that. So I got into it that way. I had studied computer science and programming, so I highly recommend that as a way. Software engineers, if there is a profession that is going to be more and more in demand in the future, is software engineers. So I highly recommend this as a way to look at it. And sometimes you think software engineer, it's going to bring me into boring stuff, but it doesn't have to, because it's also used in filmmaking, into doing all these things we've seen. The software engineers built all the software that brought us here in visual effects, and software engineers are building Unreal Engine, real-time software engineers. So that's a good place to be. But also as an artist, as a user of these software now, it's a really exciting place, because now there's an immediacy of using these tools. You see what you get, right now. So you don't have to wait forever to have renderings, things like that.
Fantastic.
So follow
Great.
your calling. Yeah, software engineering, and as an artist, learn those tools. These tools are
good advice. Good advice. You were talking about virtual production, and for those who might be new to it, there's a lot of definitions I'm seeing of what virtual production is. How would you define virtual production?
Yes. So we started talking about virtual production more than 10 years, 12 years ago, when Robert Zemeckis was doing his movies, his motion capture movies, they were called at the time, like Christmas Carol and the Polar Express. That he really is the one who assembled together teams that were not just doing one shot or another, but they were doing the whole movie in this kind of virtual way. That's when virtual production started. And then at the time, we had all these discussions. What is virtual production? Is this going to be a flash in the pan? Is this even movie making? Some people were saying, it's terrible. And the net of those discussions, there were committees and stuff, is that virtual production is, in fact, in time going to disappear, and into production. So it's a thing right now, because there is a lot of technology that we need to develop, and there's a lot of parallels that are driven between the traditional filmmaking and the virtual filmmaking, and every department now has a virtual production counterpart. There's a virtual art department, for instance, in some cases. But we believe that over time, these divisions between virtual production and production, as we understand it, will disappear, and that those tools we're bringing to the market will just become part of production. So with that, virtual production is really the whole process of movie making from the beginning. If you're going to do a Mandalorian with on-set in-camera visual effects, which is one type of virtual production, you'll have to start in pre-production at the very beginning, and it'll change your post-production, the way you do post-production. So it really is a collection of uh, of of steps and tools that you use to make your movie, just the same as you would do a traditional independent movie. You have all these steps you need to go through: pre-production, production, post, and within those you have all kind of things. Now with virtual production, you can mimic that with additional benefits, that you can be much more iterative. You can go from pre-production to shoot a little bit, then come back to pre-production to say, oh, we're going to change this and shoot again. You can do that all at the same time when we have an in-camera visual effects stage. Your post-production also can be adapted, reduced, focused onto the areas that you really want post to focus on. There are many things that cannot be done on a virtual production set, on an in-camera visual effects set today. You still have to do them. So it's the whole virtual production is the whole of production using our real-time tools, essentially.
Fantastic, thank you. I'd like to drill just a little bit into the in-camera visual effects. You and I have dealt with traditional visual effects companies, for many, many years. What are the benefits of in-camera visual effects?
Yes, so the main benefit of in-camera visual effects is that you can we call it final pixel. You can shoot your final pixel on set, as opposed to sending plates or partial elements, the live action element shot on green screen, for instance, sending that to post for the visual effects to be added later. Instead of doing that process with in-camera visual effects, using these video walls technologies and displaying real-time visual effects content on set, the filmmakers, the cinematographers, now they see the whole thing. They see the live action element, they see the visual effects element, and those visual effects element in the wall, as I mentioned, lights the actors and the set, and they're able to see and they're able to do their thing, right? Cinematographers on set, that's what they do. They light things that make them look good. And when it's a green screen, it's difficult for them to make the green screen look good or to imagine what's going to be on the green screen. But with in-camera visual effects, now they have it all in front of them, and they make decisions, and they can shoot final in some cases. There's a limit to how much content you can render in the real time on set through any tool, Unreal Engine included. If you have, the big final battle with a million spaceships and planets and aliens and dinosaurs, you cannot render all of that in real time. So you will have to send some of those shots, to post, and post, will continue to post visual effects, continue to thrive and to do a lot of work in that way. But for things like the sunset, and these examples we were looking for the Mandalorian, or a set that is, a forest, or things that are done, in real time often and look photoreal, you can shoot those final on set. And as I mentioned, on the Mandalorian, because it was all new and they invented the process together in partnership with many people, and we were glad to be part of that. They did not know really how much final they could get in the season 1 of the Mandalorian. They started with a pretty low bar. They said, we'll be happy if we have 10 or 20% of our visual effects shot done final on set. Given this big grand experiment, Jon Favreau had this vision. He was coming out of Lion King. He wanted to get to the next step, and they did between, it varies, they've said different things, but it's between 40 and 50% of the shot in the end that they achieved in camera final on set, and
Wow.
the rest of it was sent to post. So that's the benefit, the immediacy of it. And there's something that happens, there's a magic on set. When cinematographers and directors go on a live action location somewhere and there's a telephone pole in their shot, right? They don't go say, cut that telephone pole most of the time. Sometimes they will, depending on the director, but most of the time they'll just move their camera this way so that they don't see the telephone pole in their shot, right? So we saw on the set of Mandalorian that, this was all new. There were things that looked good. There were things that didn't look as good, but the cinematographer were able to decide, well, okay, this doesn't look so good. I'm going to shoot over here, instead. And here I have my shot, And so once you put the information in front of the filmmaker, the visual information, the actual visual effects, then they can decide, and they can make a shot good in ways. So there's it's like 25 iteration in the mind of the cinematographer that you'd have to
Right.
go write notes and come back and and iterate over in post after the fact. Once you've left the set, that you've forgotten half of what happened that day, now you can make all those decisions super fast right there. Move the camera, that's my shot, I'm done. And they do that all the time. And so you give them the information, you put it in front of them, and they make their shot more often than not.
Fantastic. Wow, that's great. So a real immediacy, that's what they call real time. Tell me, so
Yeah.
the, excuse me, the Unreal Engine is used in games, it's used in film and television. What about outside? You touched on it a little bit, but outside media and entertainment, how is the Unreal Engine being used for?
Yeah, there's very exciting use over there. There are people like me who do entire presentations for the car industry, and we just had an event 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a build event on the automotive industry. And something interesting is happening. After our our successful implementations in camera visual effects and virtual production, the car industry now is talking about virtual production, and they are setting up in-camera visual effects stages for the purpose of their cars, their prototypes that they have to market, and they have to advertise them, and they have to present them, and they realize that they too can benefit from this immediacy of having an in-camera visual effects stage to shoot their prototypes. And in some cases, the prototypes are not even done yet for real, and so they can go and interact with the virtual prototype with virtual scouting, just like we saw here on the set. They can do the same with their car, and with their goal of bringing the prototype when they design one to test it, with audience and things like that, without actually building the real thing. And so this big time saving, big cost saving in using these kind of virtual technology in automotive, in manufacturing, for simulation, for the ability to see big things, like you're going to create a factory that will make batteries for the world, and you want to be efficient, and you want to know ahead of time how you're going to build it. This sort of simulation is where real-time tools are used as well. And same thing in the architecture and engineering. You're going to buy a condo that's not built yet, and you want to the maker of this wants to sell it. You want to buy it. You want to choose your colors, your material, your customization, where you want your kitchen to be, all these kind of things. You can do that now in a very photoreal environment, either in VR or through a set like this. So these technologies are finding applications all over, and the common benefit to them all is that you can see what you're doing in real time, and that's a game changer. Not to
Right, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Fantastic. Metaverse. I've got
Yes.
to ask you, can you tell us some more about it? What is it, and what does it mean to Epic?
Well, the metaverse is a concept. It's really a guiding light, I think. And Tim Sweeney has had it in his mind, in also as an aim, where a place where we want to go, and it's that place where what we just saw, with regards to Mandalorian and WestWorld, and this sort of virtual world now that you can bring to filmmaker. It's this idea of bringing this virtual world to everybody, every day, all the time, and essentially you can think about it about a version of the internet where it's not on a flat screen, in front of you looking at flat images. To give you an example, for instance, we were talking about the car industry, right? Today you buy a car, and in the time of the pandemic, we couldn't go to showroom, so you could buy a car online, but you're looking at the web interface with pictures of the car, left side, right side. You can change the color, right? Is that the car you want? You get the leather, the interior. It's very primitive tools when you think about it to pick your car. You could do this in a 3D model, and the car companies, they have the 3D model of their car. That's how they build cars. Yeah, but they have it, and it's in manufacturing and buried inside behind protective walls and all that. But really, the metaverse, the idea is that you bring those 3D models that everybody has right and left, in their own four-walled, companies, but you bring them in the open, in a version of the internet that is 3D. And when you go buy your car, you have a 3D version of the car right there in front of you. It's photoreal. Photoreal, as we saw, it's possible now to have this photorealism in real time, and it's possible for cars as well as for forests or desert landscape and all the rest of it. And the idea is that at some point you'll be able to go into this world, not just for entertainment or making movies or things like that, but every day to do your shopping, to do your hanging out with friends, as you can see in Fortnite, to go to a concert, as it's done in Fortnite, and but to do a lot more of that, and it'll be the way that people do it. And you'll still be able to look at screens if you want to, but you'll have glasses and the next generations of VR goggles where you can immerse yourself into this environment, see your car right in front of you, and choose the materials and order it. And this goes for everything. You go to shop on Amazon.com or Walmart or any one of those, and you look at pictures of things that you're buying. Yeah, it wouldn't be better if you looked at the 3D model of the thing you're buying. Scan from the actual object that you're buying. You'd be able to see much easier what it is that you're buying. So the million of examples. So the metaverse is that place of the future where you can be who you want to be. In Fortnite, you can buy a character and become that character. You can become the Mandalorian. You can become this and that and that. This metaverse would allow you to do that, and to go shopping. It's just like you go to a party, you dress up, right? In real life, well, you could do that in the virtual world, and there's this rich environment. It's been described in science fiction books and movies, right and left. That's where the word comes from the world, the novel Snow Crash that was described by science fiction writers at the time. And so that's what we believe will come, and we're doing our part to do it. It's going to be much bigger than Epic Games. It's not just an Epic Games thing. It will have to be a technology from all technology provider, and all companies will get to that place, and we want to get there as fast as we can.
So it's fantastic. It sounds like we're just scratching the surface at the moment. We've got some questions coming in from the audience, and so we're going to get to those in a moment. And this is one of them. If someone has a project, maybe they're technically challenged, or maybe they're experienced in the industry, but they have a project and I'd like to get involved with virtual production. Where would someone start on the education side of this? Where's the best place to start?
Yeah, the best place to start is at Unreal Engine / online education, I believe is the link. But you go on the Unreal Engine website and you find the education section. We have, particularly since the beginning of the pandemic, we triple down on creating tutorials and ways that you can do for free to start to get into the engine. As I mentioned, well, the first step is to download the engine on the machine. You need a gaming machine, a machine that you can buy, relatively inexpensively to play games. Will get you started to learn the Unreal Engine, and you download the engine, you download tutorials, you go on our website, you can download full scenes, and I want to say that again, because the Meerkat demo that we saw, there is a scene you can download to your Unreal Engine in front of you, and that's the scene. You hit play, the Meerkat will play, the whole story will unfold, but you can stop it and you can go in the scene and look around, dive into it, see the eagle that's coming up later in the story, the feathers. You can go really close to see the quality that you can achieve in real time. We also have meta-human samples, so the meta-human creator interface, which is now in trial, but there are scenes made with the meta-human that are available for free, so you can download the meta-human and look at it, hit play. The meta-human will do what I was showing on the video, talk and do his or her thing, and then you can orbit around it and look at it. There's a lot of material there. We have a store on the Unreal Engine store with assets that you can buy, and there's tons of great, fantastic environments. In particular, if you're more like into filmmaking and you want to desert landscape like we saw in Mandalorian, there's the Grand Canyon is there, and there is mountains and Antarctica and the moon and planet Mars, and you can download those just like they are, and they cost in some cases $20 or $50, but it can get you started if you have a project to previs something or do a quick camera move, things like that. You can do it all online. And then we have partners if you want to learn and get into curriculums and take classes. Most of the schools teaching now computer graphics have Unreal Engine classes and real-time classes, and we highly recommend those as well.
Fantastic. We just have thank you. We just have a couple of minutes left. Do you foresee the integration of Unreal and AR as well, and how? And that's a question from Veronique Lever.
Okay, so yes, when I said VR, it also included AR. I know it's not probably the right way to put it, but augmented reality. Unreal Engine is augmented reality ready. We support the HoloLens. We support the Magic Leap already, and we did since pretty much the beginning of those development at Microsoft and at Magic Leap. There are sample scenes that you can download and projects that we have done demonstrating how to do that. So it's a platform. The augmented reality and the VR goggles are platforms like PC and mobile and the PlayStation. Each one of them, Unreal runs in almost all of them today.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, we could talk all afternoon or all morning, depending on what time zone the visitors are tuning in from all over the world on YouTube and on Facebook and watching this recording later on. I just want to thank you so much, David, for being here, and also to thank our presenting sponsor, Lenovo, our hosts, Zoo, and the Innovation Lab at Maison Alcan on the Sherbrooke in Montreal, where the Annex Pro offices are also located in Montreal. But especially for David Morin from being here from Epic Games and spending some time with us this morning, opening up the world of virtual production through the Unreal Engine for us. So whether you're an industry veteran or if you're just getting started sharing your stories in film or television, games, music, please come and visit Annex Pro. We'd love to see you. We'd love to meet you and hear about what your projects are about. And David, we will meet again very, very soon, I'm sure, and look forward to seeing what's next coming from the Unreal Engine.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for the audience for being here this morning and this afternoon.